Cut to Jinwoo, vibing with himself. Damn. Level 101 already? He reflects on his upgrades. Got the Karthanon Temple key at 100. Now all my class skills just leveled up. Kinda curious what's next at 102. He parks his car and glances around. Hope Jinho's not drowning in work. Man's hyped up, but we need to hire someone soon. Just then, he spots Cha Hae-in, in disguise, and running away. Huh? Jinwoo casually hops over and calls out, "Why'd you run when you saw me? If you were gonna dip, why even pull up?" Flustered, Cha stammers something about leaving her car at his place after the whole Shadow Exchange ride. Jinwoo just hits her with an ah. Then she straightens up, kinda nervous. "Can we talk for a bit?" Her mind's racing with questions she wants to ask but knows she shouldn't. "What's the deal with that pic you took with Soohyun? Why'd she make the cut but not me? She's only A rank. I'm S rank. Are they dating?" But she swallows it all. "Actually, Hunter Min Byung-gu asked me to give you a message. About your power." That got Jinwoo's full attention. His expression hardens. "Let's talk somewhere private." Inside the office, Cha checks. "We're alone, right?" Jinwoo nods. She's low-key freaking out being alone with him, but he goes straight business mode. "So, how did Min Byung-gu give you a message?" "He's been gone." Not the convo she was dreaming of. She relives the experience. "Tell Hunter Sung Jinwoo, be careful with his power. I was pulled out of the darkness by someone. But the thing that came back, it wasn't me. It had my thoughts, my will, but it wasn't mine. I felt like I existed only to serve him. And the scariest part? I wanted to. Felt good. His power is too strong. He needs to know this. The real army of Hunter Sung is..." She trails off. Jinwoo is left piecing it all together, and the weight of it hits hard. Later, while clearing a dungeon, he's still deep in thought. Was she right? Is my power really that dangerous? Whatever the case, I need to find the truth. More than I need to level up right now. Jinho Midshu goes, "Man, this takes me back. Remember when we used to run C-ranks together?" Jinwoo, annoyed, side-eyes him. "Swallow before you talk." Then Jinho's like, "Yo, why not let the summons handle this while we eat?" But Jinwoo shuts it down. "Nah, I gotta keep an eye on those dummies. And the further they are, the less XP I get. Not worth it." Jinho switches gears, asks about Gina. "She doing okay after that school attack?" Jinwoo nods. "She's fine. Doc said she should rest a bit. I left my best bodyguard with her, so I'm not worried." Then, just to be sure, Jinwoo activates shared senses. He sees Gina knocked out on the couch, peacefully asleep, while Baru's next to her, fully locked into a drama about kings and their servants. Jinwoo's like, of course that's the type of stuff he's into. He checks in on everyone else. "Mom? Good. The S-rank dudes? Still beefing as usual." Then his senses jump to Cha Hae-in, who's just straight up taking a bath. Jinwoo panics and cuts the link, red-faced like a busted simp. Jinho then drops some world news. "Yo, did you hear about the S-rank gate in Japan?" Jinwoo confirms it. "Yeah, they contacted me. Still deciding. But he's got something more urgent in mind. The Karthanon Temple key. Only 27 hours left on that countdown. A system invitation. What answers are waiting in there? Who are you? Can I finally get some answers now?" He starts walking. "Just one more day. I'll know the truth soon." Cut to Japan. Yuri Orlov steps up in front of a panel of stiff-looking officials. He ain't shy. "I'm Yuri Orlov," he booms. "The world's best support-type hunter." He praises the Blade Guild for evacuating civilians, but then immediately roasts them. "You only got 6 S ranks for this? Really?" The Japanese reps look offended but explain. "We need to spread out our forces. 1 S rank per guild to handle the A rank gates." Yuri laughs. "That's pathetic. You really think that'll save your country?" Then he drops his price tag like it's nothing. $3.6 billion per year, or 10 million a day. Hire me at that price, and I'll keep the gate shut as long as you want. $10 million a day? The room straight up froze. That number echoed like a nuke just dropped in the middle of their crisis meeting. Yuri Orlov, standing there like the embodiment of chaotic energy, didn't even flinch. Man was drunk, cocky, and somehow still radiating raw menace. "You can save your country for $3.6 billion a year," he slurred with a smug grin. "And I ain't even asking for 36 trillion like Thomas. Compared to that, I'm basically a discount." Minoru leaned over to Kane, eyebrows twitching. "You speak Russian, right? What the hell did that drunk bastard just say?" Kane blinked, visibly uncomfortable. "I'm not sure, but I'm positive it wasn't good." Orlov cackled, then doubled down. "So what's it gonna be? Save your country for 10 mil a day? Or fold? 'Cause you want to pinch pennies?" He grinned like a devil. "You really think now's the time to be picky? Let me tell you. Not even begging on your knees and kissing my boots would be enough." Then, without missing a beat, he threw a jab at the back line. "And don't get me started on those losers behind you." He gestured to Sugimoto Reiji and the other S-rank hunters like they were bargain bin extras. Reiji narrowed his eyes. "So you're really that confident, huh?" "Obviously," Orlov drawled, not even pretending to be humble. "I mean, would you rather rely on me, or gamble on those clowns?" Minoru clenched his fists so tight his knuckles turned white. "He's definitely insulting us," he growled to Kane, who looked equally ticked. And then, it hit. Boom! Invisible weight crashed onto the room like gravity just tripled. The pressure was wild. Nobody could move. "You ain't taking a single step unless I say so," Orlov said, eyes gleaming with that terrifying calm. "Go ahead. Try me." Minoru and Kane froze like statues, their faces twisted in disbelief. "Yo! It's like I'm chained up," Kane gasped. "How the hell is he locking down S-ranks like this?" Orlov finally let the pressure off and flashed a smug little smirk. "There. Now that I've confirmed y'all are useless, how about you just chill while I take care of your little S-rank problem? And I'll release your friends as a bonus." Reiji took a second to catch his breath before replying. "All right, you've made your point, but I dunno if the government's gonna greenlight this." Deep down, though, he knew the truth. He clenched his fists, swallowing the bitter pill. Still, he's all we got. Phone call happened, quick and heavy. The response? "It's fine. We accept your terms." Back in Korea, Jin-Woo stood in front of his mom with that warm, comforting smile. "Mom," she asked softly, eyes filled with concern. "There's nothing I need to worry about, right?" Jin-Woo grinned. "Course not. I've just got an appointment. I'll be back soon." He left, and the timer on the Cardinal Temple key was ticking down fast. 56 secs. 32. 15. 6 seconds. And then, boom, it hit 0. A surge of energy fired through the key. Notification popped up in his mind. The location where you can use the key has been revealed. Scene switched to Jinwoo School. Association agents were scattered around the campus. Their faces were grim. Above the school grounds hovered a familiar, eerie shimmer. A gate. "To think another gate would spawn here," one staffer said. "Good thing the school's closed. If students were here, this would have been a total disaster." Jinwoo rolled up in a hoodie, casually approaching the scene. "Sir, you can't enter here," a guard yelled. Jinwoo pulled his hood down. "Wait, you're Hunter Sung Jinwoo. How long's that gate been open?" Jinwoo asked, eyes locked on the portal. 3 days," the guard answered, voice shaky. Jinwoo frowned. 3 days? That ain't right. The system said it would reveal the location, not spawn the gate itself. He inspected the gate. C-rank, tops. Nothing major. Hunters go in yet? Yeah. They entered about 2 hours ago. That's when it hit. Jinwoo's instincts flared like sirens. That feeling. That same deadly aura. This was a double dungeon. "You need to call them back. Right now," he ordered, voice sharp. "Huh? But it's just a C-rank gate. They're all gonna die if you don't. I'm going in. No time for chit-chat." Before the dude could reply, Jinwoo vanished into the gate. Inside, it was straight up spooky. Cold. Damp. Silent. The raid party, Dragon Guild guys, were standing in front of a massive stone door, confused out of their minds. Is this the boss room or what? Why ain't it opening? One asked. We even tried magic. Nothing's working, another muttered. Then Jinwoo popped up behind them like a shadow. Holy, you scared the life out of me, one guy yelped. Jinwoo, cool as ever. It's a trap. Who even are you? I'm a survivor of a double dungeon. That hit different. One dude's eyes went wide. Wait, hold up. Are you Hunter Sung Jinwoo? Oh my god. That is him. This place is hella dangerous, Jinwoo warned. I got this from here. You guys need to dip. He walked up to the big door, still sealed tight. Why won't it open? Then he remembered. The gate to the Cardinal Temple is currently locked. Please insert the key. He pulled out the obsidian key and slotted it in. With a deep rumble, the door began to grind open. The raid squad looked like they just saw a ghost. What the? That door didn't even budge before. Yo, how'd he open it? Then, as expected, someone had to act tough. Hunter Sung, just so you know, the Dragon Guild bought the raid permit. You can't just walk in and tell us to leave. Yeah, just 'cause you're S rank doesn't mean you get to boss us around. Jinwoo turned, deadpan. I won't stop you. If anyone wants to enter, go ahead. One cocky dude shrugged. Fine, I'll go first. He stepped past the threshold. Big mistake. Out of the darkness, a red-eyed stone statue lunged like a missile. Weapon raised, death incoming. But right before the hit landed, snap. Jinwoo blinked forward and yanked him out of harm's way. Everyone froze, faces pale. All the monsters in there are like that, Jinwoo said coldly. You sure you still want to come? Silence. Please, he added, voice firm. Leave this dungeon and call the association. Tell them this is a double dungeon. He stepped inside. The moment he crossed through, the heavy stone door slammed shut behind him. The one who possesses the key has entered. The temple was just like before. Towering pillars, dead silence, that haunting vibe thick in the air. This is where it all began. I've returned. But now Jinwoo was different, stronger, wiser, and he could feel it in his bones. These statues, they're not monsters. They're not even alive. They're puppets. Somebody's pulling the strings. He scanned the temple. Only one thing radiated mana. One presence. His eyes landed on the angel statue holding that massive stone tablet. The commandments he once failed to follow. He stepped closer. The silence was suffocating. So it was you, he muttered. Won't say anything? No answer. Then the statue's eyes lit up blood red. The stone mouth creaked open, and in a voice that rumbled like thunder, at last, you have arrived. Back in the outside world, Yuri Orlov was soaking up the spotlight at Tokyo Haneda Airport like it was his personal red carpet. It's Yuri Orlov, reporters shouted from every direction, flashes popping like fireworks. The man of the hour strutted forward, totally unbothered, surrounded by a wall of microphones. I'm going to draw a huge magic circle around the gate, he declared, hands flailing with flair. Then I'll pour my mana into it. Easy work. Whatever's inside won't be able to get out. A reporter, skeptical, leaned in. Are you saying you can block off an S-rank gate all by yourself? The public's not exactly buying it. What do you have to say to the doubters out there? Orlov grinned. No shot I can sustain a barrier with just my own power, he admitted, leaning into the mic like he was dropping truth bombs. But my magic circle? It's different. It absorbs mana from the surroundings. So if you stack Tokyo with a bunch of mana crystals, that circle's gonna siphon it all in. He paused dramatically. It's like starting a car. I give it a little gas to kick things off, and once it's running, boom, it turns into a reinforced wall, feeding on ambient mana and crystals. He pointed right at the cameras, full confidence in his voice. I'm going to save your lives. Just don't forget it. Meanwhile, back in Korea, Chairman Go-Gun, he was watching the whole press circus unfold on TV from his office. He let out a thoughtful sigh. I don't know if Yuri Orlov can really seal off an S-rank gate. He muttered to Chief Wu Jinchul, but I do know what happens if he fails. Switching gears, he turned to more local business. What Sung Jinwoo up to these days? Chief Wu glanced at his tablet. He's currently raiding gates around Seoul, sir. Go Gunhee's eyes scanned the list. The Ajin Guild has requested entry permits for all of these gates? Yes, sir. But they're spread across districts controlled by the White Tiger Guild, the Hunters Guild, and the Fiend Guild. There may be some tension. The chairman leaned back in his chair with a faint smirk. A one-man guild pulling the same weight as the major ones. That's kind of fun. I agree, sir, Wu replied with a nod. Go Gunhee raised a brow. Did the Ajin Guild say anything else? Wu glanced at his notes. They asked to manage all nearby gates for the next week. Didn't specify why. The chairman waved a hand. Not a huge deal. As Wu turned to leave, his phone buzzed. Excuse me, sir. I'm getting a call. May I? Go ahead. I've got somewhere to be anyway. Go Gunhee replied, standing. Thank you, sir. Wu bowed, answering as he walked out. Wu Jinchul speaking. The voice on the line hesitated. Sir, we just got a report I think you need to see for yourself. Do you remember the school that got attacked by orcs recently? Wu's voice sharpened. Has something happened? Not exactly, but a gate just spawned in the schoolyard and... The caller's voice dropped to a whisper, thick with tension. A double dungeon was found inside. Wu froze. A double dungeon? And, the voice added nervously. Sung Jinwoo has already entered it. Inside the Kartinan temple, the silence was suffocating. The ground trembled. Dust fell like snow from the ceiling as the massive angel statue began to stir. Then, with a thunderous crack, the colossal stone tablet it held shattered. The commandments etched into it disintegrated into meaningless rubble. I see you have finally made it this far, the angel boomed. Jin-Woo didn't even flinch, eyes on the falling debris. So it's fine to destroy that slab, huh? I guess those commandments were never all that important. They were... The statue rumbled back, its voice deep and ancient. But they no longer matter. Jin-Woo's eyes narrowed. You're the one who called me here, aren't you? Yes, came the chilling reply. And then it smiled. Not just any smile. A nightmare grin stretched impossibly wide, revealing rows of jagged stone teeth. Jin-Woo clenched his fists. What even are you? A magic beast. You're asking the wrong questions, the statue said, its hands slowly clapping together like rolling thunder. You should be asking who you are. The air grew heavy. Magic pressed down on everything like a suffocating fog. The stone statues along the walls creaked to life, glowing red eyes snapping open. Now, this will be your final test. If you're still standing at the end, I'll tell you everything. That will be my reward to you. Stone knights, mages, assassins, an entire army of ancient constructs, stepped forward, weapons drawn. Their killing intent flooded the temple. Jin-Woo's shadow flared. Come forth, he shouted, ready to summon his army. That won't do. The angel raised one stone finger. Suddenly, Jin-Woo felt his power clamp down hard, like the system had just pulled the brakes on everything. The use of job-specific skills is not permitted for the final test. You're the only one I want to test, the angel said. I don't care about your servants. You are no longer authorized to purchase potions or items from the shop. You may not use quest rewards or level up recovery. You may not leave this room until the final test has been completed. Jin-Woo blinked, stunned. So I'm fighting this solo, huh? No shadows, no potions, no safety net, just him. He looked at the advancing stone army. I didn't think all the cards in my hand would get snatched like this, he muttered. Fine, I've still got my inventory. With a flick, his daggers materialized in his grip, dark steel gleaming. All right then, let's do this my way. He dashed in. The statues lunged. Swords sliced through the air. Axes swung down with deadly force. But Jin-Woo was faster. He ducked under blades, spun past spears, and struck with pinpoint precision. His daggers cracked through stone like it was paper, slicing cores and dropping constructs one after another. He weaved through attacks like a ghost, parried, countered, disarmed, shattered. Every move was clean, calculated, brutal. He leapt over a shield wall, flipped behind a charging knight, and buried his blade into its back. He wasn't the same guy who had stumbled through this temple the first time. No, he was built different now. This, he thought, ducking under a swing and slicing a leg clean off. This is what I've been waiting for. What I've been training for. The angel statue watched, unmoving, its head tilted slightly, red eyes tracking Jinwoo's every move. You have achieved so much with the body of a human, it said, almost reverent. Truly impressive growth. Jin-Woo gritted his teeth, cutting down another statue. These things looked like they were teleporting before. Now I can see everything. I can handle this. But just as he caught his breath, the angel's voice echoed again. But it's still too early for this test to end. The ground shook. Something massive stirred. Jinwoo's eyes widened. A titan of a statue rose from the far end of the temple, shedding chunks of stone with every step. His grin was wide, predatory, and the angel, smiling now too, whispered one final line. Now then, it's time to worship God. The sterile quiet of Chairman Go Gun-hee's office was broken only by the slide of paper across the polished desk. Chairman Matsumoto Shigeo of the Japanese Hunters Association sat opposite, his expression carefully neutral, though the document before him spoke volumes of desperation. This contract stipulates that we will give up the rights to all the essence stones on Jeju Island. Go Gun-hee, his eyes sharp. But why? Matsumoto offered a strained smile. Because in return, we'd like to hire Mr. Sung Jin-Woo. Go Gun-hee chuckled softly. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but he's not an affiliate of the Hunters Association. I'm well aware, Matsumoto conceded, his tone stiffening. However, we can't get in touch with him without the help of the Korean Hunters Association. I'm not asking you to put in a good word for me. All I ask is for a chance to negotiate with him. The unspoken plea hung in the air, the massive S-rank gate in Tokyo, the loss of Goto Ruji, the crumbling power structure in Japan. They needed Jinwoo. I can't believe they're willing to give up such a huge amount of money just for a chance to talk to him. Go Gun-hee mused inwardly. Then, Go Gun-hee leaned forward, his voice dropping, switching flawlessly to Japanese. I'd like to discuss this matter without the interpreters. Matsumoto blinked, startled. You know Japanese? My father ran a small business in Japan when I was young. Go Gun-hee explained dismissively, his gaze hardening. Chairman Matsumoto, if this is another one of your crafty tricks, I suggest you stop now. What do you mean by that? Matsumoto bristled. Go Gun-hee's smile didn't reach his eyes. I've heard rumors that the Blade Guild has cut ties with you. Matsumoto snapped. How did you know? It was pretty obvious, Go Gun-hee replied. I could tell something was up when the Blade Guild rejected funding from the Japanese Hunters Association and only accepted government subsidies. They used to be at your beck and call. Because of Goto Ruji, you were able to rally all the S-ranks when you needed to. But not anymore. There's probably a power struggle now that the Blade Guild has fallen apart, and the association must be failing to control the situation. Isn't that right? Go Gun-hee's gaze was piercing. If this gate isn't properly blocked off, you'll have to take full responsibility, Chairman Matsumoto. He slid a small, metallic object across the desk, a crushed camera lens. Go Gun-hee's voice was cold steel. Though he had malicious intentions, Goto Ruji was a hunter that represented Japan. So his death, the downfall of the Blade Guild, the mismanaged conflicts between the Japanese guilds, and the sacrifices that were made because of your crafty ploy, everything will be falling on your shoulders. What's this? Matsumoto asked, unease creeping into his voice. A camera that was connected to your receiver. It belonged to Goto's team. He let the implications sink in. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? Matsumoto stared, aghast, sweat beading on his forehead. Go Gun-hee continued. This is hardly the time for you to be negotiating with mana crystals. If this information becomes public, the people of Japan will have to deal with the consequences of your crooked schemes. He crushed the lens in his fist, along with the entire desk. However, I'm not cold-hearted enough to do something so cruel. I wouldn't want an entire country, no, all of Asia, to be plunged into a crisis because of one man's ploy. You'll have to thank Hunter-sung Jinwoo for this one. Back within the echoing confines of the Cart Inon Temple, revitalizing energy surged through Jinwoo. The stone soldiers renewed their assault, a relentless tide of gray. They just keep coming, Jinwoo thought, but there was no fear now, only grim determination. It's too late to dodge their attacks. In that case, he raised his hand, focusing his intent. A powerful, unseen force erupted from him, far stronger than before. Skill. The Dominator's touch has been upgraded to its final form, the Commander's authority. The charging statues were yanked violently sideways, smashing into each other and the walls as Jinwoo exerted his will. The air crackled around him. The giant angel statue, the true threat, fired a laser beam that nicked his shoulder. That was close. I won't be able to survive a direct hit even at my current level. I'll have to get rid of that guy first. He moved, a blur of motion far exceeding his previous speed. He shot towards the statue's massive head, aiming for its face. Another laser beam erupted from its eyes, but Jinwoo was already moving, anticipating the attack. Another laser beam. If I combine my speed with the Commander's authority skill, I'll be able to go straight for its blind spot. He activated the skill again mid-air, yanking the colossal statue's head slightly off balance with an invisible tether of force. The gravitational pull was immense. Even a fraction of his power was enough to affect the massive target. The upgrade made a huge difference. Landing lightly on the statue's shoulder, he launched himself towards its face, daggers flashing. Mutilation. A rapid flurry of strikes rained down, sparks flying as the enchanted blades met unexpectedly resilient stone. The Demon King's dagger can usually slice through anything, but it only left scratches this time. The angel statue smirked, its vast, chilling grin seemingly undisturbed. Well, if I can't slice through, I'll use brute force. Jinwoo spotted a small crevice, a slight imperfection near the statues I left from the earlier battle. I just have to aim for that crevice. Discarding finesse, he reared back his fist, channeling his raw strength, augmented by his level and the sheer adrenaline of the fight. Take that! His fist connected with a sound like cracking mountains, stone splintering outwards from the point of impact. He didn't stop, raining down blow after furious blow, each punch shaking the colossal structure. I'll show you what it really means to be level 103. The statue groaned, deep fissures spreading across its face. It slammed downwards, impacting the temple floor with enough force to crater the stone beneath it. Slowly, the angel statue lowered. Its crimson eyes gleamed. Impressive? Its voice echoed, followed by slow, deliberate clapping that reverberated through the chamber. You'd better keep your promise? Jinwoo grunted. His fists clenched. The statue's grin widened, pieces of its face crumbling away. Haha, the test isn't over yet. Can't you see? I'm still here. A new system notification flashed urgently before Jinwoo's eyes. An urgent quest has arrived. The angel grinned. I am your final test. Your heart will stop beating if you fail to defeat the enemy in the allotted amount of time. Time limit, 10 minutes, 0 seconds. Jinwoo stared, his breath catching in his throat. Who the hell are you? He demanded. Suddenly, Jinwoo started receiving a dialogue notification. I'm pretty sure I told you that was a silly question, but fine, I'll give an answer. As that happened, the entire stone shell of the angel statue began to disintegrate, not from damage, but as if shedding skin. The hooded figure tilted its head, the shadows beneath the hood shifting. Its voice, now clearer, colder, and imbued with absolute authority, filled the temple. The shadows beneath the hood parted slightly, revealing a single, glowing eye that seemed to pierce Jinwoo's very soul. You want to know who I am? I am the architect of the system. Are you satisfied with my answer? Back outside the school, the tension around that double dungeon gate was thick enough to cut with a knife. The girl from the surveillance team called out, "Everyone from the surveillance team, please gather over here." Chief Wu Jinchul quickly took stock of the situation. 7 elite association hunters assembled on very short notice. They're skilled, but I know they won't be enough if something goes wrong with Mr. Sung, he thought, his expression hardening. This isn't about providing backup. It's about preparing for the worst possible outcome. As they edged closer to the gate, which pulsed with a disturbing energy, Wu Jinchul felt the ground tremble beneath his feet. Immediately after, an overwhelming surge of mana washed over them, pouring out from the portal. "What is this energy?" he murmured, his hand instinctively reaching for his weapon. "Is anyone else sensing this?" The air grew heavy, almost suffocating, charged with a power far beyond anything he'd ever experienced. "Where is this chilling aura originating from?" he whispered, a hand pressed to his chest. "I can feel a terrifying storm of mana brewing." Wu turned sharply to his aide. "Are there any major guilds nearby on standby?" "Yes, sir. The Hunters Guild is ready to mobilize for a raid," the aide confirmed promptly. "What about their S-rank hunters?" Wu pressed, needing confirmation. "Mr. Choi Jong-in and Ms. Cha Hae-in have both agreed to participate if needed." A faint, almost desperate hint of a smile touched Wu Jinchul's lips. "Submit an emergency cooperation request to the Hunters Guild. We need their support immediately." His eyes stayed fixed on the pulsating gate, narrowed in concern. "What in the world are you involved in?" Sung Jinwoo, back inside the Kartinan temple, the architect, having shed the last remnants of its statue disguise, lunged forward. There was no technique, just pure, overwhelming force. The floor beneath Jinwoo violently erupted as the architect slammed down, missing him by mere inches. Jinwoo reacted in an instant, but the architect moved with blinding speed, its shadowy form a whirlwind of devastating attacks. Jinwoo managed to block a heavy blow, the impact jarring his arms and forcing him back. He gritted his teeth, pushing off the floor to meet the architect's relentless assault head-on. Fists met shadow, shattering the stone floor with every collision. The architect stumbled back momentarily, its hood shifting to reveal more of the pale, cracked face hidden beneath. Its single purple eye widened slightly, and a dry, unsettling sound, like rustling leaves, escaped it. Laughter. "Impressive, truly impressive," the architect declared, its voice echoing in the vast chamber. "You're exceeding my expectations." It seemed genuinely surprised, almost pleased, by the intensity of Jinwoo's defense. Jinwoo ducked under a wide, sweeping strike and countered with a rapid flurry of powerful punches aimed at the architect's torso. Each blow landed with significant force, staggering the shadowy figure. "Who knew I would find such enjoyment fighting against a human being?" the architect mused aloud. "Not once in my long existence did I imagine a human could pose such a challenge. How very amusing." Jinwoo spat out a mouthful of blood, his gaze burning with unwavering defiance. "He summoned me here right after I hit level 101. He must have assumed I'd be no match for him. But I can definitely do this." "Hey, architect," Jinwoo called out, his voice rough but clear. "I still have a lot of questions for you. Why did you create the system? Why did you choose me as its player? And what is happening to this world right now?" The architect charged toward Jinwoo again. "Do you wish to know?" A chilling grin spread across its features. "I see. Perhaps you fear you won't get all the answers if you manage to defeat me first." Jinwoo suddenly pushed off, creating distance between them. "Close combat puts me at a disadvantage." He reached out, activating his upgraded ruler's authority. Skill, Commander's Authority, has been activated. He attempted to pull the architect towards him with the invisible force, but the hooded figure stood firm, resisting with an equal and opposite power. "Are you planning to attack from a distance?" the architect mocked. "It's futile." Jinwoo felt the invisible connection strain and then break. He can use the same type of skill as me. That means my ranged abilities are useless against him too. It ultimately doesn't matter whether you defeat me or not, the architect stated calmly, raising its hands. Spectral weapons, long swords, spears, axes, blades forged from shimmering energy, materialized in the air around it, wielded by unseen extensions of its power. The answers you will receive are already predetermined. It selected a massive, ornately designed axe from the floating arsenal. They have been predetermined since the very moment I designed everything. How were you able to design all of this? Jin-Woo demanded, tightening his grip on his daggers, the Demon King's short swords radiating a potent dark energy. And how were you able to grant me powers like these? The architect paused, its purple eye seeming to bore into Jin-Woo's very soul. I did not choose you, it stated flatly. The revelation hit Jin-Woo with the force of a physical blow. In fact, I was against the proposal. It continued, I am simply the architect and moderator of the system designed to cultivate players. My design is flawless. Time left, 4 minutes, 10 seconds. The timer flashed urgently in Jin-Woo's vision. His eyes narrowed in determination. I don't have much time. I have to face him head-on. The architect leaped forward, crossing the distance in an instant. I must use my full power for the remaining time. Its multiple spectral weapons descended, becoming a vortex of lethal steel. Sparks flew brilliantly as Jin-Woo's daggers met the furious onslaught. The sheer speed of the exchange was dizzying, a chaotic dance of life and death. But then, something shifted within Jin-Woo. His heartbeat seemed to resonate through the chamber. Thump, thump, what's happening? All of my senses are becoming sharper. I can do this. The world around him seemed to slow down. He could perceive everything with unnatural clarity. The precise arc of the descending longsword, the exact line of the spear's thrust, the incoming angle of the blade, the trajectory of the falling axe, the crushing weight of the hammer. I can sense all of his movements. He moved with the fluidity of water, weaving through the deadly storm of attacks, his daggers finding openings, deflecting potentially fatal blows, and scoring sharp counterhits. His body reacted instinctively, moving before his mind could fully process the information, guided by heightened perception and honed battle sense. The architect began to falter. Its attacks, which had been overwhelming just moments before, were now being parried and countered with increasing effectiveness. I am using my full strength. The architect's voice carried a note of disbelief. How is he able to block all of my attacks and retaliate so effectively? And he's becoming even faster. A well-aimed blow sent the architect staggering back, a noticeable crack appearing on its hooded face. Ugh! A flicker of something resembling pain registered in its eye. This may be an artificial body, but I cannot believe he is capable of inflicting pain upon me. Jin-Woo pressed his advantage, his attacks becoming relentless. The architect stumbled again, landing heavily on the fractured stone floor. It looked down at its hand, then back at Jin-Woo, its eye wide with dawning realization. I see, it whispered, the sound barely audible. Could this be the reason you were chosen? It is only a small fraction, but it is undeniably mixed within you. Suddenly, its composed demeanor shattered completely, replaced by an incandescent rage. You are merely a human, it shrieked, its voice cracking with uncontrolled fury. How dare you possess such a thing? Time left, 3 minutes, 45 seconds, as the architect struggled to rise. The remaining stone statues lining the chamber walls stirred once more, their red eyes glowing ominously. They lumbered forward, weapons raised, forming a final, desperate line of defense. The massive shield-bearing statue from Jin-Woo's first harrowing visit began to stomp towards him. Time left, 3 minutes, 20 seconds. Jin-Woo didn't even spare them a glance. He raised his hand, unleashing the commander's authority once more. A powerful wave of pure force slammed into the advancing statues, blasting them backward, shattering several against the far walls. Time left, 3 minutes, 15 seconds, he dashed forward, ignoring the scattered, immobile constructs. The shield-bearer raised its massive bulwark, attempting the same defensive posture as before. Time left, 3 minutes, 2 seconds. Jinwoo didn't slow his charge, his fist cocked back. It's the same one. From back then, he leaped into the air, putting his full weight and momentum behind the blow. Time left, 2 minutes, 40 seconds. The stone shield didn't just block the attack. It exploded inward as Jinwoo smashed straight through the statue's chest, reducing it instantly to rubble. He landed smoothly amidst the debris, turning to face the architect, who had managed to regain its feet, the remaining spectral weapons swirling defensively around it. Time left, 2 minutes, 21 seconds. Jinwoo charged again, his daggers becoming a blur, shattering the lingering energy weapons with contemptuous ease. A final, decisive strike connected solidly. Time left, 2 minutes, 14 seconds. The architect crumpled to the ground, its form flickering erratically, the borrowed body rapidly disintegrating like ash. It looked up at Jinwoo from the floor, the purple light in its eye fading quickly. "I have lost," it stated, its voice devoid of anger now, replaced by a strange, quiet finality. "The test is over." Time left, 2 minutes, 11 seconds. Jinwoo stood there, catching his breath amidst the absolute chaos of shattered stone. The countdown clock finally gone from his sight. He'd won. It was brutal, hard-fought, but the victory was his. Still, even with the architect down, the big questions lingered, swirling like dust motes in the aftermath. As if sensing his thoughts, the architect, barely holding its form together, managed a weak gesture with a crumbling hand. "The answer is within you. Within me." Jinwoo frowned, the confusion clear on his face. What did that even mean? Right on cue, a familiar chime echoed through the chamber, mirroring the architect's cryptic last words. A system prompt popped up. "The data stored in your memory will be retrieved. Accept. Yes/no." The choice was right there. The answers he desperately needed about the system's origin, why he was chosen, the truth about the darkness swallowing the world. Apparently, they were already inside him, tucked away by the very being he just took down. "The data stored in my memory," he murmured, a mix of apprehension and burning curiosity churning inside him. He met the architect's fading purple gaze. "Yes," Jinwoo said, his voice firm, unwavering. "I accept. The data has been successfully retrieved." Instantly, a flash of light so blinding it felt absolute consumed the Kartinon temple. It washed over Jinwoo, dissolving everything: the stone walls, the broken statues, the defeated architect, into pure white nothingness. His consciousness felt like it detached, set adrift in a swirling ocean of darkness that slowly began to sharpen, resolving into a vision on an impossible cosmic scale. He found himself floating, an unseen, unheard observer, high above a desolate, alien landscape. Everything was bathed in this eerie, purple twilight. Stretching out below was a battlefield unlike anything imaginable, teeming with creatures he recognized from countless dungeon raids, endless hordes of high orcs, goblins, giants, nagas, and every kind of monstrous beast you could think of, their collective presence radiating a suffocating wave of raw, primal power. "Whoa," Jinwoo breathed, his voice echoing strangely in the void. "Look at all those magic beasts." Their glowing red eyes were all fixed upwards, staring intently at something beyond his line of sight. Jinwoo turned his own gaze upward. What are they looking at? The sheer scale of it was overwhelming, the endless gates spitting out monsters, the sheer untamed power gathered in one place. This definitely isn't Earth, Jinwoo realized, taking in the swirling purple sky and the sea of creatures stretching to the horizon. If an army like this ever broke out of the gates all at once, humanity wouldn't stand a snowball's chance. But they weren't looking at Earth or humans. Their attention was locked onto something else entirely. Then, with a sound like reality itself cracking apart, the fabric of that purple sky shattered. From the crystalline fissures poured an opposing force, legions upon legions of soldiers clad in gleaming silver armor, their backs adorned with majestic, powerful white wings. They descended like a host of avenging angels, their spears and swords radiating a brilliant, holy light. War erupted in an instant. The silver soldiers crashed into the monstrous horde below. The sounds were horrific, tearing flesh, shattering bone. The shriek of steel on steel filled the void. The alien ground quickly became stained crimson as the silver soldiers, incredibly powerful and disciplined, carved through the ranks of the magic beasts. Their initial assault was devastatingly effective, like a divine wave of annihilation rolling across the battlefield. They seemed unstoppable. But just as the Silver Legion pressed their advantage, cutting deeper into the monster ranks, a figure emerged from the heart of the carnage. This newcomer was cloaked in shadows so deep they seemed to drink the ambient purple light, radiating an aura of death and absolute power that completely dwarfed even the luminous winged warriors descending from above. The ground itself seemed to tremble with each step this figure took. It stopped amidst the fallen beasts, raised a single, gauntlet hand, and uttered one word, a word that resonated deep within Jinwoo's very soul. Arise! A chilling, vibrant purple energy swept across the entire battlefield like a shockwave. The corpses of the slain magic beasts began to stir. Shadows coalesced around them, knitting together torn flesh, replacing severed limbs with constructs made of pure darkness. Their eyes snapped open, no longer red, but now glowing with the same malevolent purple light as their new master. That's the Monarch's domain and shadow extraction. Jinwoo watched, stunned into recognition. The fallen beasts rose, not as they were before, but transformed stronger, faster. Their lifeblood now dark and thick, imbued with an unfathomable, necromantic strength. An army literally born from death itself. Then does that mean he's the Monarch of Shadows? The figure now appeared mounted on a steed made of swirling darkness, clad head to toe in imposing black armor, the absolute embodiment of the shadow power Jin-Woo himself now wielded. Immortality, an army that could never truly be diminished. The newly risen shadow soldiers immediately turned on their former killers. Jin-Woo watched, completely aghast. He can summon so many shadow soldiers. My own army is nothing compared to this. The fallen beasts, now empowered by death's embrace, surged forward like a black tide, crashing against the glittering ranks of the silver soldiers. The momentum of the battle flipped instantly. The silver soldiers, who had seemed invincible just moments before, now faced an enemy that simply refused to stay dead, led by a monarch whose power seemed to bend the rules of reality itself. The Shadow Monarch personally joined the fray, riding his nightmare steed like a blur of lethal grace, his shadow blades reaping a terrifying toll. He moved with a familiar, terrifying power, crushing enemies with invisible force. The commander's authority. Ruler's authority. Wherever the monarch rode, a trail of utter destruction followed. Victory for the forces of shadow seemed not just possible, but inevitable. That is, until they showed up. Back outside the double dungeon gate, the air was still heavy, thick with that almost palpable mana pressure leaking out. Choi Jong-in, the ultimate soldier himself, and Cha Hae-in stood shoulder to shoulder with Woo Jin-chul, flanked by the elite Hunters Guild raid team they'd brought. Are you absolutely sure about this? Choi asked Woo, his gaze locked on the pulsating blue portal, skepticism etched on his face. I'm sensing a tremendous amount of mana leaking from there. You said Sung Jin-Woo definitely went inside. Yes, I'm sure of it, Woo confirmed, his expression tight with worry. Hae-in frowned, clearly troubled. This mana? It doesn't feel like Sung Jin-Woo's. Then whose power is this? She felt a sense of obligation towards Jin-Woo after he'd helped her. A double dungeon. Huh? I suppose I finally get to see if those rumors were true. Woo Jin-chul recalled his earlier conversation. Sung Jin-Woo told me himself he wasn't the one who cleared the original double dungeon. So then, why would he come back here? This can't possibly be just a coincidence. With a low, grating groan, the massive stone doors leading deeper into the dungeon swung open before them. Choi Jong-in gave a sharp gesture, and the assembled team moved forward, cautiously entering the vast, ruined chamber beyond. The place was a wreck. Shattered statues littered the floor, silent testament to the brutal test that had occurred. At the far end of the chamber stood the infamous, colossal statue of God, its hooded face utterly impassive, radiating an ancient, terrifying aura. What the hell? Jong-in stammered, a mix of awe and raw terror in his voice. What is this place? Woo murmured, taking in the chilling scene. So, the stories were true. The statue of God and all those stone sculptures. They actually exist. Suddenly, a weak, rasping voice echoed from the floor near the empty throne at the far end. Oh, what's this now? The hunters instantly snapped their attention towards the sound, finding only the discarded cloak and pile of dust that remained of the architect. I don't recall extending an invitation to humans. This is another unexpected variable. Shock rippled through the experienced raid team. Did I just hear that right? One muttered. Or did that pile of dust just talk? Another whispered incredulously. It knows human language? The architect's voice, though weak, rose slightly, filled with a chilling authority that defied its crumbling state. The dust seemed to stir faintly. Silence. How dare you disturb the king during his slumber? The hunters instinctively followed the direction implied by the voice's gesture, and then they saw him. Standing silently near the raised dais, bathed in a faint but distinct blue glow, was Sung Jinwoo. It's Sung Jinwoo, a hunter whispered, breaking the stunned silence. What's he doing just standing there? Before anyone could react or even process the bizarre scene, the pile of dust representing the architect stirred violently. In a flash, an unseen force lashed out, striking down one of the hunter's guild members instantly, sending him to his maker before he could even scream. You, strong human, the architect hissed, pure malice dripping from its fading voice. Will make a fine first offering to the king. Picking up with Jinwoo's vision, he's watching this insane standoff. Before the Shadow Monarch stands one absolute unit of a beast, radiating immense power. Both the monarch and this new challenger take their stances amidst their respective armies. You could feel it in the air, total chaos was about to pop off. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon room, silence slammed down for just a heartbeat, broken only by the low, grinding groan of stone. Heal him, Choi Jong-in barked out, pointing sharply towards a hunter who'd caught some shrapnel during the architect's initial wild attack. Use everything you've got. Get the wounded to the back, now. Another hunter yelled. Here they come. Just like that, the stone soldiers charged. Weapons raised high. Their movements were heavy, deliberate, but totally relentless. The dust pile that was the architect seemed to smirk. A chilling voice echoed from it. Anyone who manages to stay alive by the time all of my puppets finally collapse will be granted the supreme honor of witnessing the king's birth. Buki. Everyone, watch out! Choi roared as the absolutely colossal statue of God, looming like a nightmare at the far end of the chamber, began to stir. Its massive stone eyes flickered, charging up those infamous, devastating eye beams. Choi didn't hesitate, reacting instantly by conjuring a huge fireball between his hands. Use this chance. Attack the other stone statues while it's distracted, he commanded, launching the blazing projectile straight at the statue of God's face. Wham! It slammed home, momentarily blinding the giant statue and stopping its attack cold amidst a shower of sparks and billowing smoke. Chief Wu Jinchul launched himself towards the nearest statue, landing a solid punch. To his shock, it barely left a scratch. Whoa, this thing is way sturdier than I thought, he realized, a flicker of panic creeping onto his face. Heads up, these guys have high resistance to physical attacks. So be careful, Choi warned, gritting his teeth as he saw even his powerful magic struggling against them. Wait, it can withstand this much magic? Don't tell me they have resistance to spells too? Frustration started boiling over. Guildmaster Choi, none of my taunt skills are working on them. another hunter shouted desperately. My basic psychokinetic spells aren't doing jack either. They won't even budge. Choi could feel the options dwindling fast. Damn it. Are we all out of options here? His gaze shot towards Jinwoo, who was still standing completely motionless near the throne, looking totally zoned out. Is he hypnotized or something? Choi thought frantically. Then we have no choice. We have to wake Jinwoo up. He hurled one of his fireballs directly at Jinwoo. Whatever's going on, this is the only way to snap him out of it right now. But before the fireball could even get close, the architect intervened, stopping it dead with some unseen force. The dust cloud surged furiously towards Choi. How dare you attempt to disturb the king in his slumber? But before the architect could reach Choi, the other hunters, including Chief Wu, jumped in, blocking its path. Wu turned, shouting urgently to Cha Haein, Ms. Cha, we'll handle things here. Please, go wake Jinwoo up. Got it. Haein replied instantly, dashing towards Jinwoo without a second thought. At that very exact moment, the memory playback happening inside Jinwoo's mind hit its absolute climax. He saw the original Shadow Monarch's army, regenerating endlessly, seemingly drawing power from what felt like a bottomless pit full of mana. He finally understood the real dynamics of that ancient war. The demon clans and all those beasts were slaughtering the shadow soldiers only because their true enemies were the silver soldiers descending from the sky. Wait, so the Monarch of Shadows wasn't actually allied with the magic beasts? Or maybe, was there some kind of internal beef? The answer arrived with horrifying, brutal clarity. He watched as the Monarch's own soldiers suddenly turned, impaling their leader with countless weapons from behind. Betrayal. The Monarch confronted one of the betrayers, staggering forward even as his shadowy form began to dissolve. We had a chance to end this endless war today, the Monarch rasped, utter disbelief coloring his fading voice. So why did you betray me? He reached out, grabbing the treacherous soldier's helm, demanding an answer, the metal groaning under his grip. I asked you a question. Why did you betray me? But there was no reply, only the cold, hard fact of betrayal. The Monarch finally fell, overwhelmed, his body crumbling into nothingness. As his life force faded completely, his eyes, filled with that dying purple light, seemed to lock directly onto Jinwoo's across the void of time and memory. Those eyes! Where have I seen those eyes before? Suddenly, the image of Baron, the Demon King from the Demon Castle dungeon, flashed violently in his mind. Baron? The Demon King? What the heck is Baron doing here? Then, something shifted. The perspective changed entirely. Jinwoo was no longer just watching. He was suddenly standing there, looking out through the Monarch's eyes. He was the Shadow Monarch. Huh? Since when? Why didn't I realize until now? The rhythmic thumping sound intensified. The unmistakable beat of the Black Heart, now resting securely within the chest of this ancient being called Ashbourne, and now inherited by Jinwoo himself. Ashbourne, or maybe Jinwoo now, turned, darkness swirling around him like a cloak, only to be met by the sight of the rulers, the winged silver soldiers, descending from above. Their wings cast long, imposing shadows as they surrounded him, their gazes heavy with judgment. And with that, the playback of the retrieved data has ended. Back in the chaotic reality of the dungeon, the architect, or what was left of its dusty form, shifted its focus to Cha Haein. She was holding her own, a whirlwind of motion against the relentless stone soldiers. A dry, rasping voice echoed from the dust pile, sounding almost amused. You're quite entertaining. It's single purple I fixed on her. Quite entertaining indeed. The dust stirred faintly. Why don't you try a little harder to break free from my grand design? Haein didn't waste breath dignifying that with a response. With explosive speed, she launched herself forward, her blade a silver flash. Sword dance. Her movements became a deadly blur, a beautiful yet lethal ballet slicing through the air, aimed squarely at the nearest stone statue. There you go! the architect's voice mocked as Heian's sword struck the unyielding stone again and again. Sparks flew like fireworks as she rained down blows, moving with incredible agility and precision. Just like that. Ha ha ha. But even under her furious assault, the statue barely showed any damage. The sheer force of the impact drove Heian back, forcing her into a hard landing. A grimace of pain flashed across her face as a spray of her own blood flew from the recoil. Arg! Ha ha! Is that all you've got? The architect sneered, its voice practically dripping with contempt now. Well, I suppose there won't be any unexpected deviations after all. You humans never fail to disappoint me. Shadowy tendrils seem to writhe around the pile of dust. The system I constructed can predict and respond to any possible outcome. Such feeble attempts will never destroy my creation. I suppose this is the best you fragile beings can muster. Another blast of dark energy shot out from the architect, aimed towards the beleaguered hunters still fighting off the statues. Choi Jong-in watched the desperate struggle unfolding, his face grim. We have to wake up Sung Jin-Woo, he declared, his eyes locking onto Jinwoo's still, silent figure standing near the throne. It's our only remaining option. The architect lashed out again, sending a bolt of pure dark energy straight at Cha Heian. She reacted instantly, dodging with breathtaking speed. The energy blast slammed into the stone floor right where she'd been standing a split second before, sending chunks of debris flying through the air. She landed lightly, skidding to a controlled stop. So, the architect sounded almost intrigued now, its tone shifting slightly. You managed to dodge my attack. Huh? Not bad. Its single purple eye narrowed, focusing intently on Heian. Suddenly, it seemed to recoil just a fraction. A shadow, a tiny wisp of dark energy flickered around Heian, almost invisible to the naked eye. The rules established for this room do not permit such things to come forth, the architect murmured, a note of dawning realization entering its voice. But that is, without a doubt, a shadow. To think the king planted one of his own soldiers within you. The voice sharpened abruptly. How did you all locate this place? And what exactly is your relationship to Sung Jinwoo? Heian stood tall, meeting the architect's disembodied gaze head-on. Her voice clear and defiant despite the blood staining her clothes. We're his friends. She paused for effect, then added with unshakable conviction. Friends? Who are here to rescue him. The architect seemed to ponder this for a moment. Friends. He mused aloud. Perhaps it wasn't the king's direct intervention. Then, its tone shifted again, becoming almost magnanimous, but still laced with undeniable menace. All right, very well. I shall grant you a chance. Today, one of the great monarchs will descend upon this world, and I am going to give you the unparalleled chance to witness this glorious, world-altering event. A chilling pause hung heavy in the air. However, all of your little human friends, the architect's voice dropped, becoming quiet but filled with absolute, terrifying certainty, shall perish. Right here, right now. A new voice cut cleanly through the tense atmosphere of the chamber, cold and steady as ice. Not on my watch. The architect froze, its single eye widening just slightly. And then bam! Jin-Woo was suddenly there, coming in hot with a punch delivered straight to the crumbling remnants of the architect's statue form. You! Jin-Woo's voice rasped, raw power radiating from him as the stones visibly cracked and crumbled under the impact. He stepped forward, vibrant purple energy swirling around him like a living cloak. His gaze locked onto the dissipating architect. What have you done to my body? He demanded, his voice dangerously low, vibrating with restrained fury. The surviving hunters could only stare, mouths hanging open in disbelief. Wu Jinchul's eyes were wide with shock. Choi Jong-in actually flinched back slightly, instinctively reacting to the sheer pressure Jinwoo now emitted. Even Cha Heian looked utterly stunned by the sudden, overwhelming presence her friend now radiated. He landed softly on the floor, the stone cracking slightly under his feet, his eyes fixed unwaveringly on his enemy. He glanced down slightly, his reflection almost visible in the massive remaining eye of the crumbling statue. "It seems you're not the king," the architect sputtered, its voice strained, thick with confusion. "But why? Why are you here instead of him? How are you possibly able to maintain your consciousness with that black heart beating inside you?" Jinwoo's eyes narrowed slightly at the words. Black heart. He could feel it now, undeniably, a powerful, rhythmic thumping within his chest, pulsing with an absolutely insane amount of mana. So this crazy surge of mana is thanks to this heart? Right on cue, a system window flashed into his vision. Title: Demon Hunter. You have met all of the requirements. You have successfully recalled your defeat of Baron, the Demon King, Monarch of White Flames. An incredible power has acknowledged the player as its rightful master. Effect: Black Heart. Plus 100,000 mana. His current mana pool displayed right below it. MP: 109,433. Almost instantly full from near empty. Okay. Judging from his reaction, Jinwoo thought rapidly, analyzing the architect's genuine shock. I can figure out two things right now. 1. This black heart thing wasn't part of this guy's master plan. 2. It was definitely never meant to boost my powers according to his little script. He frowned slightly, but that memory playback, it didn't give me all the answers. I still haven't heard the full story yet. He addressed the crumbling architect directly, his voice calm, inquisitive, but holding an edge of cold steel. You said you were against choosing me as a player. He paused. But what exactly is a player? And what were you ultimately trying to do to me? The architect's remaining eye widened again, a flicker of understanding, or maybe it was pure fear, crossing its fractured, dusty face. Could it possibly be? Its form seemed to glitch, momentarily flickering to show the enraged faces of the rulers from Jinwoo's vision. Monarch of Shadows, how could you do this to us? The architect suddenly shrieked, its voice abruptly filled with an ancient sense of betrayal and raw fury. Do you really think the other monarchs will just let you get away with this? Tendrils of dark energy lashed out erratically, striking the nearby walls. Just answer my questions, Jin-Woo stated flatly, completely unmoved by the dramatic outburst. As several of his daggers materialized in the air around him, points aimed directly at the architect's face. The architect let out a dry, rasping laugh, the sound unsettling. Ha ha ha. You truly are an unpredictable variable, aren't you? His gaze seemed to pierce right through Jinwoo. I think I now understand why you were the one chosen. Suddenly, gasps erupted from the hunters. Ah! What the? Take the statues. All around the massive chamber, the remaining stone statues, even the ones that had been completely inert just moments before, began to crack and groan loudly. Sinister red light flared to life in their empty eye sockets. They've started to move, a hunter screamed. Ha ha! The architect cackled, its voice seeming to regain some strength, now filled with pure spite. If I happen to perish now, no one will be left who can stop my puppets. It looked directly at Jinwoo, the challenge hanging heavy and clear in the air. Think you can still afford to kill me? Jinwoo tilted his head slightly, considering it. And what if I killed you and managed to defeat all your puppets as well? A smug, almost arrogant confidence entered the architect's tone. I am the architect of this entire system. If you were foolish enough to kill me, Jinwoo finished the implied threat for him, a slight, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. I'd return to being just a powerless E-rank hunter. He shook his head slowly. I've actually thought about that possibility. His eyes narrowed, the purple glow intensifying. But an existing, functioning system doesn't just fall apart when its creator vanishes. Now does it? The architect's composure finally, completely shattered. Then I'll just have to manually, ding, 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 ding. A rapid-fire sequence of system prompts began flashing urgently in the architect's fading vision, overlaying its perception of reality. The system has denied the administrators access. The system has denied the administrators access. The system has denied the administrators access. A flood of denial messages filled its site, relentless and absolute. Why? Why is the system denying me access? Sheer panic laced its voice now. You know. Jin-Woo began, his voice soft but resonant, echoing his own determined words from long ago. I once thought to myself, the system is definitely using me, and so I'm going to use the system right back. It needs me to get strong. If I've become someone's avatar through this system, then I have no choice but to exceed every single one of their expectations. His eyes flared brightly with purple light. I'll eventually swallow this entire system whole. He looked down at the panicking, crumbling architect. But lucky for me, it seems your perfect design is actually full of flaws. Arg! The architect let out a final, agonized scream of fury and disbelief. How dare you? Jinwoo didn't hesitate, slicing through its remaining form with his daggers, cutting it into rapidly dissolving pieces. Before it vanished completely into dust, its voice echoed one last time through the chamber, filled with a chilling, absolute certainty. Let me make a prediction. His fading gaze fixed on Jinwoo. No, consider it a prophecy. When the pillars of fire supporting the very skies are finally erected. Its voice faded into nothingness, but the ominous words hung heavy in the air. An unavoidable death will come, and it will find you. Jinwoo stood impassive amidst the settling dust, the purple aura around him steady and calm. He considered the final words, the final threat, the prophecy of his demise. So be it. Back outside the ravaged school building, the air was thick with tension. An hour had crawled by since the Hunters Guild team disappeared into that pulsing blue gate, and the silence was getting heavy. It's already been over an hour since the Hunters Guild went in. One of the remaining personnel muttered nervously, eyes glued to the portal. What's taking them so long? Another hunter shivered, pulling their jacket tighter. Man, if our guild had tried to go in there instead, we would have been totally screwed. Just then, silhouettes started emerging from the shimmering blue entrance. Look, there they come. A wave of gasps rippled through the onlookers. The elite members of Korea's top guild stumbled out, leaning heavily on each other. Their expensive armor was cracked and battered, faces pale with exhaustion and shock. Several figures were being carried out, completely still under stark white sheets. Seeing the strongest hunters in the country looking this broken sent a chill down everyone's spine. Blood stained their gear, their expressions haunted. I can't believe it. The elite members of the Hunters Guild look so beat up. Someone gasped in disbelief. What in the absolute hell happened inside that C-rank gate? Woo Jinchul quickly moved towards the returning hunters. You guys are from the Courthouse Guild, right? He asked a nearby group. Can you help us transport all of the casualties? That word, casualties, hung heavy and grim in the air, confirming the terrible reality. Why yes, of course, they stammered, rushing to assist. Amidst the somber activity of tending to the wounded and recovering the fallen, Jinwoo stood apart, gazing off into the distance, lost in thought. The real architect is probably somewhere else entirely, he reasoned, trying to piece together the fragmented memories he'd been shown. I got some answers, but definitely not the whole picture. And I doubt that fading consciousness could have stuck around long enough to tell me everything. Anyway, Woo Jinchul approached him then, his face etched with the grim weight of responsibility. Mr. Sung, he began, his voice low. 20 of the highest-ranking elite hunters under my command died in action today. He paused, letting the weight of that sink in. That said, we would have suffered unimaginable damage had a full dungeon break occurred here. But, are you telling me you attempted to clear this dungeon entirely by yourself? Jinwoo sighed, the burden settling heavily on his shoulders. I asked the guild that discovered it to report the double dungeon, but I honestly didn't think anyone would come rushing in to help me. I'm the reason those hunters died today. He looked down at the grim scene of triage unfolding nearby. I only survived thanks to the Hunters Guild and the surveillance team stepping in. Chief Wu's gaze hardened just slightly as he looked at Jinwoo. The surveillance team is always notified whenever an S-rank hunter takes official action. And the decision to request the Hunters Guild's cooperation, that was mine. Though the results are undeniably tragic, nonetheless. He paused again, studying Jinwoo intently. How did you know that there was a double dungeon here in the first place? The dungeon called out to me, Jinwoo replied simply, his voice quiet. Called out to you? Wu repeated, unable to hide the skepticism in his eyes. Yes, Jinwoo elaborated slightly. I received a message telling me to come here. May I have a look at that message? Wu asked, pressing, needing something tangible. It's in my head, Jinwoo replied flatly. Only I can see it. Chief Wu studied him for a long moment, finding the young S-rank hunter increasingly inscrutable. I doubt he's joking, not considering how many people just died, but I just can't get a read on this guy. Not with normal common sense, at least. Just then, Cha Hayan approached, her own minor injuries already tended to. Are you all right, Mr. Sung? She asked, genuine concern warming her voice. Yeah, of course I'm. Jinwoo started to reply, but the words suddenly caught in his throat. A profound wave of exhaustion crashed over him, the culmination of the intense battle, the overwhelming flood of memories, and the sheer strain of containing the immense power of the black heart thrumming within him. He wobbled on his feet. No, maybe I'm actually a bit. He staggered, his vision blurring. Tired. With a soft thump, before anyone could catch him, he collapsed onto the pavement, completely unconscious before he even hit the ground. Mr. Sung, Hayan cried out, rushing forward. Sung Jinwoo. Miles away, under the eerie orange glow of Tokyo's setting sun, final preparations were underway in the completely evacuated Shinjuku district. Lines of massive dump trucks relentlessly poured mountains of gleaming mana crystals onto the deserted streets, forming glittering piles surrounding the colossal, swirling S-rank gate that dominated the skyline. Yuri Orlov surveyed the scene, arms crossed confidently, a look of deep satisfaction etched on his face. 200,000 tons of mana crystals, he declared loudly to his nervous assistant hovering nearby. This should be more than enough power to charge the magic circle completely. He gestured grandly towards the gate. Once I construct the barrier around the gate, it will begin drawing mana directly from these crystals. And at that point, the magic circle will become entirely self-sufficient. He paused, frowning slightly as he scanned the empty, silent cityscape. But, how strange. Pardon? Is there some kind of problem, sir? The assistant asked quickly, anxiety creeping into his voice. No, the barrier itself is perfect, Yuri scoffed dismissively, waving a hand. However, I sense a presence nearby. His eyes narrowed, actively searching the deep shadows between the empty buildings. Sorry? The assistant murmured, looking around confused. Who are you? Yuri suddenly bellowed into the stillness, his voice echoing strangely. Show yourself immediately. Only silence answered him. Would someone really have the guts to be out here on the street, especially when the dungeon break is scheduled for tomorrow? The assistant reasoned nervously, trying to make sense of it. Yuri grunted. I never said it was a person. He turned away, shaking his head dismissively. What? The assistant asked, utterly bewildered now. High above, perched unseen on the roof of a nearby skyscraper, a figure shrouded in swirling frost watched Yuri Orlov intently. A man with sharp senses, I see. The figure mused, their voice like cracking ice. Well, I suppose there's nothing particularly strange about that, considering the source of his power. But, regardless, a faint, cold smile touched the figure's lips as they looked towards the ominous gate. It finally begins. Huh. Their gaze lingered on the swirling vortex. Everything is proceeding according to plan. Tragedy is most certainly afoot. Down below, Soldiers maintained a grim perimeter behind stark yellow keep-out tape, their armed presence a stark reminder of the terrifying stakes. Other hunters waited nearby, their hushed conversations filled with a heavy dose of cynicism. Modern firearms are basically useless against high-level beasts. So I just don't see the point in mobilizing the entire army like this. One hunter, Kane, commented quietly. Another, Reiji, replied darkly. If Yuri Orlov's little magic trick fails, someone needs to buy the frontline hunters enough time to prepare for the onslaught. So they're just human shields. Kane sighed, the resignation heavy in her voice. Truth is, as long as we're standing here on the front lines, we hunters aren't much different. It just goes to show how utterly helpless the human race really is when faced with pure destruction. Yuri, completely oblivious to the watchers above or the grim conversations below, admired the glittering field of mana crystals spreading down the street like a river of diamonds. Perfect. This is absolutely great, he muttered to himself, already reaching for his flask. If all goes according to plan, I'll have this gate taken care of all by myself. It'd be fantastic if I could be known as the man who brought down an S-rank gate single-handedly. But, he paused, taking a swig. There's another hunter out there who probably fits that title better, so I shouldn't get too ambitious. His assistant tried weakly to intervene. Mr. Orlov, alcohol is strictly. Bah, I'm just trying to calm my nerves before the big show. Yuri boomed, draining the flask with a flourish. P. Besides, I'm about to put on the best performance you've ever witnessed, so this definitely calls for a toast. How many S ranks are on standby, just in case? He mumbled, wiping his mouth. There are 15 S-rank hunters here in total, sir, the assistant reported promptly. Only 15? Quite a small audience for such a momentous occasion. Yuri grumbled. What are the Americans doing? Did they not send Japan any of their S-rank hunters? Well, sir, an S-rank gate appeared on their soil as well. In the state of Maryland, to be exact. The assistant continued, his expression growing even more grim. But that's not all. Several other high-rank gates have appeared simultaneously in the United Kingdom, India, and in many other countries besides Japan. Ah, I see. So, countries all over the world are suffering from a critical shortage of high-level hunters right now. Yuri grinned, seeming almost pleased by the global crisis. Suddenly, the assistant's eyes widened in absolute terror, pointing a shaking finger towards the sky above the gate. Huh? Sir. The gate. Yuri looked up. The massive, swirling vortex of the S-rank gate was pulsing violently, angry red energy crackling across its surface like shattering glass. The gate! It has opened! Someone screamed. Jin-Woo's eyes snapped open. He sat bolt upright in bed, gasping for air, his heart hammering against his ribs like a drum. Blurry white ceiling tiles slowly swam into focus above him. The sterile, sharp scent of disinfectant filled his nostrils. A hospital? He pushed himself up, feeling groggy and confused. The door to his room rattled open, and Jin-Woo burst in, looking frantic and sporting a few fresh bruises himself. Sir! Jin-Woo! Jin-Woo blinked, trying to clear the fog from his head. What happened? What happened to me? You finally woke up, Jin-Woo exclaimed, relief flooding his face, only to be quickly followed by tearful panic. Sir, I really thought you were dead this time. I didn't think you'd be unconscious for 3 whole days. 3 days. Jin-Woo stared at him, shocked. I've been asleep for 3 days? Yes. I've been worried sick. Jin-Woo sniffled. Jin-Woo's mind started racing. 3 whole days? Did I really build up that much fatigue? Well, I guess I haven't exactly taken a break in a while, but more importantly, the fragmented memories flashed vividly in his mind again. The colossal cosmic war, the monarchs, the rulers. I keep thinking about that war the architect guy showed me. I can't get it out of my head. He focused, a sudden, sharp urgency gripping him. Hold on. If I've really been asleep for 3 days, then that means... Jin-Woo, he said, his voice serious. Give me an update. An update? On what, sir? Jinwoo asked, confused. The S-rank gate in Japan. What happened to it? Jinwoo's expression immediately turned grim. Ah, well, sir. His voice dropped as he began to recount the disastrous events. Cut back to Shinjuku, Japan. Moments after the gate shattered open, the ruptured portal pulsed violently. With thunderous footsteps that literally cracked the pavement with each impact, colossal figures began to emerge. Giants! A nearby hunter screamed, pure terror in their voice at the sight of the towering, brutish figures radiating immense, overwhelming power. They're giants, but they usually only appear as the highest-level bosses of A-rank gates. Maybe, despite the terrifying sight that sent others scrambling, Yuri Orlov stood defiantly amidst his glittering field of mana crystals. Heh! This will be easy peasy, he declared, a manic, almost unhinged grin spreading across his face. Come at me, you overgrown brutes. He threw his arms wide, beginning to chant loudly, pouring his considerable mana directly into the ground beneath him. Intricate patterns of bright light spread rapidly outwards from his feet, coalescing in seconds into a vast, shimmering dome of crackling blue energy that completely sealed off the broken gate and the emerging giants inside. The barrier hummed powerfully, visibly drawing energy from the surrounding crystals. Blue lightning seemed to arc across its surface. Bah ha 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 ha! Yuri roared with triumphant laughter, throwing his head back. Beasts that are commonly found in measly A-rank gates? Who would have thought this would be what came out? You pathetic pipsqueaks actually think you can break through my barrier? One of the giants, completely undeterred by the light show, lumbered forward and drew back its massive, rock-like fist. With terrifying force, it struck the shimmering blue wall. Crack shatter. Instantly, the barrier imploded, shattering into countless shards of fading blue light that vanished into nothingness. Yuri's booming laughter choked abruptly in his throat. Ha! His eyes bulged wide in utter disbelief. Ha!